Okay, now the stream started. I clicked the start button before and it didn't start. All right. Well, now I'm live. Welcome, everybody. All right, got that going. Well, welcome, everyone. Want to get started on working on this painting or getting back to it or whatever. Yeah. Mic check. Okay, looks like the mic's working still. Oh, let me turn the fan on. It's a little warm tonight. For those joining live, you are welcome to sign in to YouTube and talk and chat. In fact, it's encouraged because it gives me more to talk about. When no one's in chat, I try and talk about the painting process and kind of stream of consciousness, but questions are always welcome. So this painting is dry at this point. Because I didn't get to it in time. It's been a while. I haven't been feeling the best lately, so yeah. So I'm gonna oil out. Usually I try and oil out just the parts that I plan on working on, but not entirely sure what that would be on this one. I guess the figure for the most part. There's not a ton of empty space around the figure, so I don't feel like it makes a huge difference on this one. Also, well, I don't think I'll be able to finish this one tonight, unfortunately, because I don't have as much time as I do on like Sunday streams, but yeah. Get started. Oiling out is a fairly simple process. I prefer oleo gel for oiling out. It's my favorite medium to oil out on. Or with, I should say. You can use other things though. Trying to think. You can use, just oil, linseed oil or walnut oil. Don't know about a few other oils I'm not sure about. Gamblin has a oil solvent-free gel. I'm not sure. I guess you could use that to oil out. It's very close to oleo gel in a lot of ways. So when it comes to oiling out, it's very hard to see the sections that have covered because it's such a thin layer of oil you can't really see it. So the easiest way is to see the shine, but I can only see that in the reflection, or the, not reflection, the glare of light. I can only see the light glare if I'm much lower because I purposefully have the light so that you know, I try to minimize glare, generally speaking. All right, there we go. Hey, Joanne. Good evening. How you doing today? Hope you're doing well. Oh, my head's in the shot. I didn't even realize. So, yeah, I'm gonna get back to trying to work on this painting. I don't I don't think I'll finish it tonight, but I can make some progress at least. Although I do like the unfinished look, so we'll see. I do like all the like messiness and strokes that are in it, you know. So we'll see. But I doubt I'll finish it tonight. Uh, it's a mixed bag as far as how I'm feeling. Um, I was sick and then I had the COVID shot and a flu shot, and that was the COVID booster, I should say. That was really rough. And then that was this weekend. And then today I went in for allergy shots on top of all that. So, not feeling the best. Little stronger, but still not the best. Yeah. It's all good though. It happens. It's, whatever. I feel good enough to paint, which is a lot better than I was doing yesterday. That's a lot for a week. Yeah, it's been a little rough. My allergies have been off the chart in general, and yeah, but it's fine. Like I said, feeling good enough to paint today, so you know, an improvement's an improvement. So I'll take it. How have you been? If you care to share. You allergy season, but overall great. Oh, that's good. Glad to hear that. Yeah, allergy season sucks. Um, we'll see how these shots work. It's a new thing for me. We'll see how that goes. If I have great results from it, I'll let you know. Trust me, I'll be shouting it from the rooftops if I have great results from this because I know how much I suffer from allergies, and if I can mitigate that for anybody else, I will let them know. Or if I know a system to mitigate that, I will let them know. I don't know if you've ever done the allergy shots or not. But yeah, I also on a not allergy subject matter. I'm looking at the what is it called? The Portrait Society of America. Um, they have a conference next year. They have one every year, but this year's already happened. So I'm looking at next year's. I'm planning on going, and I'm trying to see if I can enter any of their competitions. So we'll see about that. The flu shot was bad enough. You were sick of this year's. You had the flu shots, and then the years you didn't. Meds are weird. They are weird. Uh, I'm taking a few, and they're definitely weird. The different side effects and everything. Yeah, some of them I really enjoy, some not so much. So kind of depends. That'll be good. The Portrait Society, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Um, I hope. Yeah, I don't know that I'll be able to enter. I have to look at the categories and the what's it called? There's the categories, and then also um, like the conditions um, for entering. I don't know what they are, so I don't know that I can enter. We'll see. I doubt I'll win anything. Um, just given the previous winners, like I don't necessarily think stylistically uh, I have a big chance, but it's still worth entering. The LOL I assume is regarding medication and enjoying some of them. I yeah, I take a medication that to help well, helps for a few things. It wakes me up and it helps with ADHD and I really enjoy that medication because it just clears my brain fog that I always have during the day ever since ever since I can remember basically. It just kind of clears it up a bit, which is just amazing because it just lets me be more of myself kind of thing. Because I'm a total night person. Depends on the judges. Oh, it definitely depends on the judges, but they pick judges that match their like style. Like that the style the conference and the Portrait Society has. It's a little more formal, I think. Which is fine. It's fine. Uh, you know, I could be wrong. You never know. But also, I suspect. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll enter, and I'll be what it is. The reality is, most of the times you don't win. You know, maybe you're lucky if you get an honorable mention of some kind. That's just the way it goes. It's a numbers game, right? Like anything else. And then sometimes you win. As I bounce around. Don't get that one. What is that in reference to? Our conversation or something in particular? Adderall wearing off? I see. I I tried Adderall. It had the weirdest effect on me. Um, it turned me into a zombie. Like I was so out of it. I was like and so tired. I was practically non-functional. Like I was just like I would just sit there and stare at the just stare off in the distance kind of thing. Like just so out of it. So the stuff they have me on right now is it's not intended for ADHD, but it's off-label uses for ADHD. So whatever that means. I think it's funny how you have all these medications that are, for one thing, but then they have an off-label use and they're like, we didn't make it for this, but it's very useful for these things as well. So yeah, Adderall was an interesting experience that I'll probably never do again. Um, there's Adderall and Ritalin just gave me a headache. That's all that did. The time release ones, you can't use them, but the 6 hour one isn't bad for you. Okay. Only took half a dose today. Too busy? Oh, sorry to hear that. It's no fun being so busy you can't even, take a quick break. Never used Ritalin? Yeah, I don't know. It just gave me a headache. Really didn't do much for me. I did try what's it called? The Adderall I tried was the time release one. I wonder if I took just the regular one, if it would have a different effect. Um, I'm honestly a little scared to try that though. It was so bad. Like I was just a zombie. I just sat there like staring like this, just staring off into the distance, not barely responding to things. I left my palette out for too long, and now it's a little, all the paint on it is just a little too thick. I have to keep uh, using oil to, make it softer again. That's too much. I've also done ketamine treatment. That's another thing I've done recently. Um, that's an interesting one. Crisis mode, always a high functioner. In crisis, took a friend to the hospital. She had an ulcer issue that needed cauterization. She's fine. Think speed. You mean uh you mean Adderall without the time release? And was that today, the crisis mode that you took your friend? I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. I'm glad she's okay. Oh, I think you're saying think speed for the Adderall without the time release. Yeah, it didn't make me the time release version didn't make me what's it called? Uh more awake at all. Like in the slightest. So I don't know that the non-time release version would. I'm not sure about that. Uh it's fine either way. I'm I think I'm okay with what I'm on. Maybe I'll, one day I'll try and get a what's it called? A sample and try it out or something. But yeah. Yeah, ketamine is interesting. I you know, um I kind of don't understand like I guess like everything people abuse everything, but I don't know how anybody abuses that stuff because it like knocks me out. So I'm just like I would just want to go to sleep. Um It calms me without the zombie effect of the time release. Okay, interesting. I might try it one day. Get a doctor to prescribe it again. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the stuff I'm on. It's working all right for me. Yeah, ketamine. It's like the reason I was saying that is it's kind of fun to do, but like the experience of being on ketamine is and it can be fun. I also had one time where I got so nauseous I was gonna vomit. That wasn't fun. But generally it's fun. It's just it's so exhausting. I would like if I wasn't doing it as treatment. And I say treatment. Well, it is treatment, so I don't know why the quotations. If I wasn't doing it as treatment, I wouldn't use it regular. I wouldn't even use it regularly because it's just so exhausting. What works for you works. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Yeah, ketamine treatment's been interesting. Um, I wish, you know, I've read things about other treatments that I wish I could take advantage of, but they're not legal yet, or they're still in like trial stages or whatever, which is very frustrating. America's drug, you know, enforcement is and categorization has never been the best. Let's put it that way. If you were a little braver, you'd use the LSD. I mean, I'm not gonna, what's it called? I am not going to support drug use in general, especially illegal drugs, but there have been some, you know, you might be able to find it in a medical setting that is, you know, uh, safer and better. Um, Same thing with like psilocybin, um, you know, and they're finding like what is it? Ecstasy. They're finding treat treatment using ecstasy for PTSD. Oh, it's interesting stuff. Yeah, once again, I'm not going to advocate for any illicit drug use at all. Uh, uh, for numerous reasons. There's a place in NH that advertises. Yeah, yeah, they're doing studies on it, and it's starting to, you know, it's starting to become a thing. Um, yeah, I mean, the results that the studies are having are so positive that they almost can't ignore it at this point. So that's good. Hey, Donley, welcome. How you doing? For those who don't know, Don Lee is a streamer friend of mine. He streams on Twitch. He does digital artwork, um, a variety of subject matters. He's a lot of fun, and his Twitch name is Don Leo, same as his chat name. Hey, Don Lee, I noticed that you don't have a stream share in your Discord anymore. Was it because I kept posting in it? And I was the only one posting in it? Neither am I. I interned at a psych ward and I'm way too visual to experiment. That's fair, Joanne. I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna, suggest people do. Yeah. Can't stick around right now? No worries, Donley. You'll drop back if you're able to later. Understandable. Want to drop in and say hi, get a peek at your painting prog. Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Hopefully you can make it back, but understandable if you can't. It's good to see you. It is where it's at the moment. So it's going all right. I just spent like 70 bucks on art supplies today. We'll see how it goes. I bought oh, by the way, a sick thumbnail. LOL. Distorted self-portrait is pretty good. Yeah, thanks man, I appreciate it. I was in a mood today. Still am a little. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, I bought paint supplies today. Um, I bought it's remarkable. Some paint supplies are like not very expensive. Others is just you get a little, you pay a little for not much. Um, but yeah, I bought oleo gel, um, another tube of that. I bought a their new walnut oleo gel. I want to try that. And I bought impasto medium, which um, we'll see how that is. I thought it might be fun to add it on the last layer to get some extra thickness in my paint. I don't think that's the right color. It's not. To anyone watching this later, and I guess I don't know how to say stuff like that. Joanne too. I mean, everyone, whoever. Um, One thing that really helped me improve my art was um, not being afraid of doing stuff like that, admitting when I have a mistake and just wiping it off instead of trying to make it work, trying to whatever. A lot of times it's just easier, just wipe it off, get rid of it and start over. Sometimes often it's so much easier to just do it that way. So, but not being afraid to do it is the big issue. I used to, you know, be more afraid of making a mistake or wiping a mistake off because what if I can't get it the same way again or, whatever. Yeah, it's uh, it's just not worth it. I got so much better almost overnight just by being willing to do that. So, just a general comment. It's something I never worry about anymore. Like, I'm never worried about wiping something and being able to redo it or get it close or it's it it's not really a problem. If you painted it once, you can paint it again kind of thing. Um, yeah, and that uh, the freedom, not being worried about it, all of that is so much so much more beneficial than trying to desperately hold on to something that may or may not be good or correct and that you may or may not be able to, paint again. Whatever. Even if you can't paint it again, it's not a big deal. Next time. And if not next time, time after that. Also, it helps to go that way. I feel like I finish paintings quicker too. Oh, that's right. I never checked the arm. That's funny. All right, I'll just have to do it now. There's some stuff here that's slightly wrong, but I never bothered to check it. I said I was going to and then forgot. I also think that mentality of like not being afraid in your artwork, um, to make mistakes, to erase mistakes, sometimes even to erase things that aren't mistakes just because you can't see what is or isn't a mistake. You know, all of that is like not being afraid of those things ends up being so beneficial overall. Um, and I think translates into like seeps into other parts because generally speaking, I think people do their best work when they're not afraid of how it's going to turn out and when they're not afraid of the marks that they're making as they're making them. Hey Cody, welcome. How you doing? Good to see you. Good job, Cody. By the way, great job on those skull paintings that you did. Really phenomenal looking things. Don't feel what's it called? Don't feel bad if you don't get many responses. I think Joanne's the only other person in here at the moment. And I very much appreciate her company. I'm assuming her, by the way, Joanne. Sorry if I'm wrong about that. Hanging in there, good to be here. Haven't caught a stream in a minute. Thank you very much. I am at my happiest when painting skulls. Haha. Um, yeah, I haven't. I didn't stream yesterday. I was not feeling well, so yes. The last stream I had was on Wednesday, so I haven't, been the most consistent lately with streaming because I haven't been feeling well. And so, it's hard enough to paint when you're not feeling well. Add streaming to the mix, and I was just like, yeah, I don't think I can pull this off. So I canceled. I think I have No, I have two skull paintings. I was going to say I think I have one, but I don't. I have two. They're fun. Yeah, I enjoyed them. Although one was a huge pain, not because of the skull. I messed up when I was painting it, and yeah, you know, if you mess up the proportions and you don't realize it, and you keep working at it and keep working at it and keep working at it until you finally realize you messed up all the proportions and have to fix a ton of things hours and hours later, it's kind of a pain. But I'm really happy with the painting overall. Are they nearby? I'd love to see them sometime. Yeah, absolutely. I can show them to you today when I take a bit of a break in a little bit. I'm gonna have to give my hands a break from the gloves at some point. So when I do, yeah, I just ordered some bismuth yellow. I'm going to get to finally try it and see how it compares to um, cad lemon. I think I suspect that ultimately I'm going to end up staying with cad lemon after I finish the bismuth yellow. I suspect, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to trying it. I like trying new paints. Once I um once I kind of nailed down my what's it called? My palette 100% kind of thing, I'll be buying large tubes, but I've been up until now I've been buying the small tubes because I'm trying out the different colors and the different variations, sometimes the different brands as well. So yeah, but it's definitely more economical to try to just buy the large ones. So that is what I'll be doing eventually. Be interested in hearing how that goes or seeing it on stream. You generally go to lemon yellow too, at least for my cool yellow. Yeah, so my goal is I'm trying to like I want to have a I guess it counts as a primary palette, but that's not really my thinking. Although it does count as a primary palette. Um, I want a so my palette is basically CMYK plus white. Um, but what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to make a limited palette that is as, you know, broad and wide as I can possibly get so that I almost never need any supplemental colors other than that one palette. That's the general thinking. And you know, honestly, there's some flaws to that system and that thinking, but that's where my head is at. So Cad Lemon has been my you know, you can see it on my palette, is my only yellow. And um, it is a cooler yellow, but it can, when mixed with quinacridone rose, it can get you some pretty intense oranges. Like, the only way I think I would ever need to use anything else would be if I'm painting, like, I don't know, an orange, like directly in sunlight, maybe, like just spotlight with nothing, or maybe like some flowers and stuff, or an orange, you know, a traffic cone, but it has to be like, it has to be indirect sunlight, like super bright, just exposed. Like, other than that, I don't know that I would ever need any other pigments than these two to paint something orange, because of how, you know, how bright they get. And the same thing with purple. Purple is generally purple or violet. I can never remember. I get them confused. Um, is generally considered a hard color to mix, but these two make a really good, vibrant, you know, purple and violet. Um, Once again, it would need to be a very, very strong, you know, purple to need anything other than these paints, in my opinion. So that's at least my feeling on the subject at the moment. Um, yeah, so I'm curious how bismuth is gonna, you know, interact with that. Mm. How about red objects? Do you feel um like you can't read that one word because of that stupid heart? Warm punchy reds, like red dress or something? I mean, once again, it's going to have to be like really strong red. Um, I mean, it's going to need. Oh, do you like, you really get warm punchy? Yeah, I feel like I can paint very red things with this palette. It would need to be like authentically. It would need to be like a, you know, like a fire engine, or you know, like a red car, or a woman in a red dress, but like in bright light with no modifications to it. Like, essentially, okay, this is the easier way to put it. It would need to be an out of the tube color. Like, no mixing done, right? It would need to be a pigment that I just had to put straight on out of the tube. Because if it needs any degree of mixing, I can practically mix it with this, in my experience, the way I feel, at least. In fact, I can show you real quick. Hold on a second. Let me show you. All right, here is. Mm, here we go. Here is quinacridone rose, which is permanent rose or quinacridone rose. which is technically a violet color because it's PV19. And PV19 can vary wildly in its what's it called? Display. So just be aware that PV19 is not the best. Like it can be permanent rose, and it can also be permanent red, and it can also be permanent violet or quinacridone violet. Like it's got a range there. This is Windsor Red. Windsor Red. Windsor Newton Red is a mixed color. It is PR25 and PR 255 and PR254. If I'm not mistaken, it's very close or partially pyrrole red and then some other like variation. It's their, special thing. It looks very similar to what's that one? Cad Red or Cad Red Light. I mean, you can see this is a bright, you know, that is a bright red. Here, let me spread it out a little so the camera picks it up. I mean, that is a bright red, right? So if I take a little bit of my lemon yellow, and I mix in my quinacridone rose, I mean, I'm not going to claim that I can't tell the difference between them at all, but I mean, it's almost identical. I mean, it would have to be, like I said, out of the tube. If it, you know, if you mix anything with this, it immediately will lose that intensity and be practically indistinguishable. As it is, it's pretty close. White does not do it any favors. I was trying to get it just a tad lighter. But I mean, yeah, you would need, like I said, it has to be out of the tube paint, basically. If it's not out of the tube and you need to mix it at all, I can make it practically. The white didn't help it though, that's for sure. Yeah, white did not assist it at all. So yeah, does not need much. So, and if you want to see a purple, by the way, let me show you purple. Let's get some. Because people talk about purple being like a hard color to mix. So it goes very, very dark. And then all you do is add a little bit of white. And you get a really lovely purple. You want it a little bluer, and obviously make it bluer. If you want it redder, and make it redder. Even more. It's not, it's very, very straightforward. Now I think it's technically a violet. Here, Yeah, I see the slight difference, but you're right, and I'm sure context would play a big part. Like if it looked that close side by side, I'm sure it would look even better in context of a painting. No, absolutely. It was I'm not going to say it was identical because it's not, but it was so close that, you know, if you do any mixing, yeah, it's no different. Same thing with what was that paint color? Um, Cobalt teal. I bought a tube of cobalt teal, which was very expensive, um, for a tube of paint, and it's a beautiful, beautiful color. But here's the thing: you can get within a hair of that color with just what's it called? Phthalo blue, white, and just a touch of yellow, and you will be almost there. So, so close. And once again, if you put any mixing at all, you'll lose it, and it'll be nearly identical or pretty much identical. Because I put the paint next to it, and I did a swatch, and I was trying to match the swatch, and it was so close. Um, I'm not saying you can't see the difference, but once again, if it's not straight out of the tube, you won't see the difference. And that's the thing, right? Like, I don't think that there's no place for those colors. It's just most of the time, it's not going to matter at all. Huh. My internet just crapped out for a second. Am I still here, guys? My internet just crapped out for a minute. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting conflicting messages. Uh, you bought the cobalt teal last year. You can blend a close match. Yeah, you can. You really can. It's a beautiful color. I used it in my self-portrait. I used it in this self-portrait. Um, the teal. Um, it's a beautiful color, and it's a good mixing color, and it's easier to manage than the phthalo blue. Um, so it's a great color. Its main disadvantage is it can't go it can't go down in value, and also um, become more saturated as it does, right? Like it can only desaturate unless you mix another blue with it. So that's the disadvantage of it. I suppose if you have that and like ultramarine blue on a palette, that would be a good mix. But the problem with that, actually, there is no problem with that. My issue with that is that I want less colors. I like five, is like the range I want. I'm not saying like occasionally if I want an extra color, I want an extra thing, that's great. But limited palette, like 5 is where I want to, the range I want to be. Anyways, skull paintings. Here we go. Here is one. Um, it's not a, it's not a skull painting, but there is a skull in it. Um, clearly. Um, so I don't know. I don't remember what kind of skull it is though. Um, this was the painting that gave me a hard time though. My fault. I messed up on it. Joan says, one of my favorite colors, you like phthalo blue, but for some reason, it is one of the few colors that jumps on me. Yeah, phthalo blue is, a lot of people struggle with it, in numerous ways. The slightest amount on you will go everywhere and stain everything. So, that is, that is one problem. Um, It also very little goes a long way. I never put out like a ton of blue because I just like touch it with a few hairs and that's all I need 90% of the time. Um, this is another skull painting. Right. So yeah, those are the paintings with skulls that I've done so far. I might have a painting. I might be doing a painting with this skull. Um, but I'm not sure. Wait, in camera. There we go. It's a very cool skull. I just don't know that I have a painting to make of it. Uh, it is silver because it's not mine. The person who owns it painted it silver, but it is a real one. Ah. You dig them both? Thank you so much. Uh, At my old job, we had the phthalo blue incident of 2018. uh, she also has a teal. Also, wait, who has a teal? I'm not, you mean the painting? You have a very similar shredded face deer skull in your studio. That's cool. Yeah, it's a really cool skull. I hope I make something out of it. I just um you know, we'll see if I can. Yeah, I have a bunch of paint that I don't even use anymore, and oh no, actually oh, you mean the one where she's holding up the skull in front of her? Yeah, that wasn't cobalt teal though. I didn't have cobalt teal at the time, but yes, it's a teal color. I think I was using there's that color cerulean. That's it, cerulean blue. I think a mountain lion got the deer or something. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, so my palette has changed drastically over the years. So I used to have I used to use cerulean blue. I used to use cerulean blue and ultramarine blue on the same palette, and I had um, uh, cad red light and what is that other one? Alizarin crimson, but the permanent one, not the real one. Although way back when I used to use the real one, but yeah, alizarin crimson and also no black, but I used to use burnt umber with ultramarine blue, which would kind of give you a black when you needed it. And then for yellow, I had yellow ochre and cad yellow light. Too many colors. Also, I got rid of all my earth tones because I got so frustrated with them drying so fast and sinking. So they would dry fast, which can be a good thing, but they would sink on the canvas. They would sink, and then on the palette they would also dry out fast. No matter what I did, they always dried out so fast that I got very frustrated and eventually just got rid of them because I also don't need them. I can mix a brown. I don't need brown. And then for a while I was using quinacridone magenta, but quinacridone rose is superior to quinacridone magenta. So uh, yeah, quinacridone rose is better. That's super close to your extended palette. You don't use it too often, but you do like it. That's cool. Yeah, like I can see some of those colors being very useful. Well, I can see them being very useful just in general, but I could see them being useful for myself, but only in as convenience colors, really. Because I can mix almost all of them. But I spend a lot of time mixing, which is the disadvantage of my palette. Um, but oh, I was actually thinking of um, I was thinking about doing a what's it called? A study for one of these streams and doing the Zorn palette. I'm just not sure if I have um, if I have everything I would need to do the Zorn palette. So the thing is, my understanding for the Zorn palette is that there are two main issues with the Zorn palette, and I don't know that I have the right colors to deal with those issues. I'm not sure. So, um, if I remember correctly, the red you can substitute cad red, cad red light. Um, but it's the what is the yellow? I'm trying to remember what is the yellow color? It is oh, yellow ochre. That's it. Um, yellow ochre, but the yellow ochre was a very specific one, if I remember correctly. And I don't think I have that specific one. I don't know how important that is. And then also, ivory black. So, okay, that's another thing. So, ivory black used to be made from ivory. Now it's essentially bone black. Um, and that is also different. And um, for the white, flake white, I have flake white. I could do it with flake white. Um, I, I don't really love using lead white anymore. I've I bought a tube to try it out, and I don't see what the thrill is all about. So yeah, you use titanium white, ivory black, yellow ochre, and cad red medium. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I could just do that, I guess. But I thought the yellow ochre was specific, and the black was a cool black, whereas now it's a warm black. Um, and then yeah, the white obviously, you know, titanium, not lead white. Although, like I said, I have lead white. I could use it. I just I don't. I'm not crazy about using it though because it's toxic, and I didn't see a huge benefit to it. Yeah, is the big thing. Like if it if it's toxic, but I was like, oh my god, this stuff is the best thing since sliced bread. I'd be using it. Like I'd be using it right now. But I didn't I wasn't overly impressed. I don't know. Maybe it's just how I paint doesn't take advantage of the certain aspects of it. I don't know. You would say the difference would be similar to your Windsor red versus quinacridone red mix. Okay, I, I guess I could give it a shot. I've never tried a Zorn palette study though. You'll be so close it won't really matter. I guess I don't. That's the thing. I wasn't sure because I'd heard that the yellow ochre is significantly uh, different than the current yellow ochre that most people use, and um, I wasn't sure about the black is supposed to be the cools, but if it's a warm black, how will it be cool? I wasn't sure about that. Oh my god, I just had a thought come up. Joanne, I was thinking about your comment about the what's it called? The Phthalo Blue incident of 2018, and that sparked a memory. One second, I'll tell you. Uh, oh, thank you, Rosalind. Thank you so much. How you doing? It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So I wasn't there for this story, but I'm kind of glad I wasn't there for it because it was it was something that I don't know I'd want to necessarily be around to see because I would feel so bad for the person. Um, but in my art school, there was an incident where one of the one of the students um, put their palette down on a stool, and the art model got off stage to sit down to rest in between sessions. Um, and she didn't notice it was there and sat on the palette and got paint into all kinds of places you don't want to get paint into. Like I said, I'm kind of glad I wasn't there to see it because some things I just don't need in my, you know, I don't need to actually see to. But yeah, I felt that was a big incident in our art school. Yeah, yeah, that was a big thing because it was, she's a nude art model, so obviously that's part of it. And then apparently she was a bigger girl, so um, that just made everything spread even more and further and made cleanup more complicated. Worse than sand, yeah. It's a good thing Anakin never tried painting with phthalo blue. Or maybe it's a shame because then he may have not done what he did. I don't know. I'm glad you're doing good, Rosalind. It's good to see you, like I said. Yeah, the OPL streams have been a little. They're clearly busy right now, so haven't had a ton lately. It's good to see people here. It would still be cleaning it up. No time to attack the temple. Yeah, exactly. You're so inappropriate right now. You should not laugh. I, it's one of those things where you can't. It's, I feel like it's okay to laugh, uh, now, but I wouldn't. It's the type of thing where it's like I wouldn't laugh at the person as it was happening. I would feel awful for them. But after the fact, it's really hard not to. Joanne's, I missed a comment from before. You thought lead white was flat transparency. It's been a while. Um, what do you mean flat transparency? Not sure what you mean about that. It it's supposedly it's a softer mixer, so like it's not as overpowering as titanium white, but like I don't know, just use less titanium white. I'm not. I don't know. Like it's not. That doesn't. It doesn't feel like that big of a deal to me. Like I said, there might be something, and it might be. It might have to do with how I paint. Like maybe how I paint doesn't take advantage of aspects of it. Also, that like, oh, it's so ropey. The ropiness, the ropey. I don't know. I don't get it. It seemed very the same. I don't know. I wasn't impressed by lead white. It is a warm white. It's nice. Like it is definitely warmer than titanium white. That's a thing. that is, you know, good or bad depending on what you need. That's fine. Oh, the Phthalo blue incident was a student somehow stepping in a phthalo blue and then walking all over the building and classroom and the storefront, the kitchenette, and the frame shop. Oh my god. Oh my god. That. Oh, seriously, that sounds horrible. Especially with like, not only is it such a strong color, it's so, it like stains everything it touches. You notice a little spot here and there and would wipe it up, but then you realized it was everywhere. Other students had stepped in it and had tracks and tracks, their own tracks. Oh my god, yes. Jordan says titanium is opaque. You tried a couple different whites and one seemed flat and dull. Um, and Cody was saying phthalo blue was literally everywhere. That sounds nightmarish, honestly. Cody, that sounds like a nightmare. That's straight up. Yeah, that sounds awful. Um, I try and reuse my gloves, but when I get if I get a bunch of phthalo on my gloves, I'll just toss them because I'm like it's not worth it. I don't want to. I don't want to transfer it somewhere and then have to. Yeah, it's not worth it. That sounds awful. Okay. Regarding the white, I don't know. I don't know if it's duller or matter. I haven't noticed a difference with it. As far as opacity, like I said, it's a weaker tinting white. So when you mix it, it's not as dominant. So you need a lot more of it. It probably, like if you were to thin it down, I guess it would be more transparent. I don't really use transparency all that much in my painting. Like it's not a focus. So I don't really care that much. So I don't know. Like that's why I said like maybe it's just something I don't use. Phthalo blue, the gift that keeps on giving. Seriously. But yeah, there's definitely aspects of painting, different aspects of painting, and some I don't really bother with or access or use. Um, so that could be why you know why it doesn't matter much to me. Negative trend real quick. So also if you need a warm white, aside from the fact that you can just mix one, what's it called? M. Graham has a sunflower seed white. It uses sunflower seed oil, and it's just it's a titanium white, but with sunflower seed oil, and it's just a tad bit warmer than regular titanium white. There's also unbleached titanium white. That one's not as bright though. Yeah, I don't know. Um, you know, I've yet to find a perfect white, whatever that, like, I guess yeah, I don't know. Perfect white doesn't exist. But also, it's all kinds of issues with zinc in titanium white and zinc white, and whether or not you should use it in your paint or not. Yeah, that's a whole thing. I do wish there wasn't. I wish there was more like, guarantees in paint. Like they knew more, but a lot of this stuff is kind of like, we'll find out in 100 years from now. All right, thanks. Although I guess there's something good to that too, because it's like, I don't really have to worry about my mistakes. I won't find out about them. I guess there's a positive there. Oh, Cody, you weren't here. I bought some new paint supplies. They haven't arrived yet, but I'm looking forward to them. Um, I bought some more oleo gel because I like using oleo gel, uh, and I like it more than Gamblin's what's it called, solvent-free gel. So I bought some more oleo gel, and they have a new oleo gel, which is a walnut oleo gel, which is supposed to make everything dry slower. So I bought that to try out. And then I also bought, they have a solvent-free impasto medium. So I want to try that. I think it might be fun to add some impasto to my final layers. So yeah, that's nothing better than new supply. I know, right? It's a bit of an issue, I think, sometimes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting those, trying them out. And then I also bought some. I also bought some supplies from Jerry's Artarama. Like I said, bismuth yellow. That's actually, I think, the big like thing from there. It's like I got a larger roller, brayer, a soft one, larger one than I have. Stuff like that, but nothing all that exciting to me personally. I'm looking forward to having it. I just, you know, it's going to be like the small one I have, only larger. Um, I also bought this one thing that I feel like is very stupid, but at the same time, maybe not stupid at all. Which is this little thing to open up paint tubes. Um, like to help grip the tops. We'll see how that is. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. There is something exciting. I bought Archer's Archie Arches Archers, I think. Um oil painting paper. Paper specifically for oil painting. Um, we'll see how that is. I will give a review on that. I'm excited to try that out. You don't have to prime it, supposedly. And supposedly it doesn't sink. And it's not like super dry or thirsty. We'll see about that. I'll be the judge of that. That's my biggest fear, is that it's like very dry to paint on. Oh, Rosalind. Um, since I know your kids play Elden Ring, this goes for Cody too, since I know Cody plays Elden Ring. There's this game, a new game out. Uh, you may or may have not heard about it. Lies of P. Uh, it's really good. Not stupid at all. I like that thing. Some of my students have older paints when they start, so I'm using it to help them with particularly stuck tubes. Yes! Although pliers work just as good. Yes, pliers work just as good too. Rosalind, Lies of P. Um, it's it's based off of the Pinocchio story, but it's in a like Victorian steampunk kind of world. Uh, so the P is for Pinocchio, but yeah, um, you're not playing a dumb wooden doll, but it's a fun game. Um, so Cody, yeah, pliers work. I'm always afraid of breaking things. Because anytime, not anytime, but let's just say in the past, there have been times where I've put a little bit of effort into something and then I just destroy it. um, yeah, so I'm a little scared of like using pliers sometimes for some things like that and so on. Yeah. You'll definitely check it out with them. It sounds amazing. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, it's a really fun game. I've been enjoying it a lot. It's really good. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I have I have a actually there's a tube right here. I have this paint tube right here. CAD red light, and I can't open it. Every time I start to open it, I can feel the whole tube kind of starting to give. And I know that if I keep going, the whole tube's gonna like twist around. And yeah, the top part, I'm afraid I'll crush it if I use pliers on it. So Cody, John says, Cody, I use pliers. The one thing no one warned me about was not to over twist the tube while holding it in an ungloved hand. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm afraid of. Mm-hmm. I wanted to buy I wanted to buy some empty tubes of paint, just the tubes with nothing in it, but they won't sell it online unless you buy like a ton of them, like 30 or something. Like I don't need that many. I need like three, just like in case. But yeah, they don't. For some reason, they only sell like 30 at a time. Not sure why, but whatever. And Cody says, yeah, when I use pliers, you try to hold the tube as close to the lid as possible and hold the tube as still as you can. Uh, and you're okay to crush the lid a little. Yeah. Well, this way I'll have that tool here and I always will know where it is. So I don't have to go looking for the pliers, you know. Also, it was very cheap. So I'm just like, oh, whatever. I had a tube spring a leak on me once. Luckily, it was towards the bottom, and I just covered it with tape, and then you know, I used it up fast enough that I ended up rolling it over it eventually. Oh, I will say this. Yeah, here's a thing to share. This thing, this thing is great for paint. I love this thing. I had one that uh had a different design, like a like a square. That one sucked. That one hurt my hand to use it because the edges of the thing would like dig into my hand. And it was very awkward to hold. This one is great. You the paint, the tube goes in here, comes out this way. It's not going into your hand. You just crank it. Works fantastic. You save the tops of old tubes clean and stash them. Oh, Joanne, that's a great idea. I never thought about that. I have a couple old tubes. That is a great idea. Just in case one of the top breaks. That's a fantastic idea. I like that a lot. Rosalind saying, I've been painting a still life with the grandkids have come to visit. I paint two versions, one for me and one they help me with. It's been fun. Oh, that's great. Rosalind, that's fantastic. I love that. That's such a great idea. That that's such a great idea and a way of introducing them to everything. Mm. Kids are natural artists, fearless, and they inspire you. That's great, Rosalind. And they are. I was actually talking about that earlier today, by the way, about not being afraid of making mistakes and wiping your painting or parts of your painting. Um, yeah, I was just talking about that earlier. Um, because I was saying I improved so much. I think I improved like quote unquote overnight just by changing that one attitude, um, and not being afraid of wiping mistakes or just and making changes, and even sometimes not even mistakes. Sometimes it's, technically correct, but because I can't see it or whatever, I think it's a mistake. Whatever, just not being afraid of it. I think that one like mental change like made me a better artist overnight type of thing. Like as soon as I started doing that, I was instantly a better artist. There's not a lot of things that will make you a better artist instantly, but I think that did, because not only not only does it make you a better artist, or for me, I should say, for me, it not only didn't make me a better artist because I could just go and fix things, it also made me not afraid of messing up and freed me up a lot and loosened me up a lot. And I think it affected me in other ways as well. Like, I think that mentality seeped into other parts of my painting to free me up to improve. And then also, um, well, actually, not also. That's about it. Yeah, I think that it's very helpful. The color choices you're making, Chef's Kiss. Love the hair. Thank you. The hair will be um, interesting. We'll see how it goes. The orange is going to get somewhat covered up because there's it's backlit, so it'll be, I put the orange in to help the glow, and then when I start putting in the white, it should help that glow come out. I love how kids explain the world to make such sense while the adults have had their genius trained out of them. um, I, I guess I don't know. I don't interact that much with children, generally speaking. Um, I'm very awkward around kids. Uh, so I am not a natural around children. I'm very awkward and I don't know how to interact with them. I do a lot better with when they get a little older and I can uh, talk pop culture and comics and superheroes and stuff like that. Then I'm more in my element. One of my best friends has a kid who's I think the kid's now 3. Um, One of the only kids I wish I could uh, interact with more. Um, just because of how like close I am to that friend. I want to be the fun uncle or something like that, but they live far, so can't quite do that. Michelle says hi to everyone. I forgot to go back to recording. I had a few ideas recently for like TikTok or Instagram type of things. I think I might try and actually invest a little bit of time into those. I don't know. I feel like they might end up being just a huge waste of time, but I think they're funny. So we'll see if I can spend the if I can find the time to do it. I might end up doing that, or maybe I can do shorts on uh, YouTube. I guess that could work too. Do any of you watch shorts on YouTube? I know I do, but I'm just curious. Cody, fading fast. Got to call it a night. Great conversations with y'all. Hey, no worries. Have a great night. Thanks for stopping by. It's always fun chatting with you. Rosalind says my baby in college came over. Baby came over to hang with us, with me, so we painted a Zelda scene. He did a great job. Proud moment of for this mom. Ah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I used to be a huge Zelda fan. Um, I say used to be because I I haven't played the last three or four, maybe five games. So, you know, at this point, like, I'm not saying I'm not a fan, I'm just saying I haven't had a chance to play the newer ones. So, have a good night, Cody. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. It's interesting. Her face is in shadow, and normally, there's a lot of contrast in the face in certain areas, and there's all these colors that are normally in the face, and almost none of them are present here because of how backlit she is. It's a it's very much a challenge of trying to paint what I see, not what I think should be there, which is often a challenge in general for painting. I would go as far as to say it's one of the biggest challenges of painting, to paint what you see, not what your brain tells you it sees, and the interpretation of those things. And in case anyone's watching this doesn't understand what I mean, the example, there's a few examples that I can give. One is the difference between painting an eye and painting a representation of an eye. So like manga, for instance, when they draw an eye, it's a representation of an eye. Eyes don't actually look like that. It's a symbol of what an eye is. The other example is the famous example of that the dress that was a big deal on the internet for a minute, where some people saw it as white and gold, and some people saw it as blue, black and blue. And the thing is, if you put that dress into Photoshop, that photo into Photoshop, and you pick the colors out, it was blue and black, without a doubt. You just know. But the reason people saw it as black and gold, no, sorry, gold and white, was because the brain was processing what it would look like in shadow, because it's clearly in shadow. So it was compensating for those things. That's very useful for certain things, but not for painting. That is not a useful thing for painting. You want to just paint what you see. At least when we're working from reference. I mean, invent whatever you want. That's also good, but you have to know how to do that. That's a different skill. And for all the people who are watching, by the way, you know, Joanne and Rosalind, and anyone else, I do apologize if I'm like explaining things you already know. I'm just talking in general because I assume that there's some people that are watching that aren't in chat, or um, I know there's going to be someone who watches this later at some point. So I'm just talking in general. you know, what's his name? Nicholas Uribe teaches workshops, and not just him, a lot of artists teach workshops, and I've attended, I've attended some workshops. Never Nicholas Uribe workshop, although I do hope to take one of his classes at some point. Um, but I do wonder, like, how can I put this? A lot. I've had some workshops where I didn't get a lot out of it because it was a lot of like rehashing of the same old thing. Um, and I do wonder if there's a level that, you know, that you get to where you don't end up getting a lot out of workshops and so on. I don't know. I wonder if, and if that is the case, I wonder if there's, advanced workshops that are actually worth it. I don't know. I don't know if anyone has experience with something like that. I feel like sometimes people leave the workshop thinking it was amazing and they learned so much from it. And then, you know, later on, not a lot changes. So I do wonder. I did take an 8 week class with Jennifer Balkin, and that was very good. But that's also an 8 week class, and I was still learning a lot about oil painting at the time. But that was very good. And then I've also been a part of Chelsea Lang's boot camp. Um, that's been really good too. But it's not exactly like a workshop. It's kind of a different format. It's you know, you work a lot on your own, and she kind of matches where you're at. I do recommend I do recommend it. I've had really good results from it. Everyone that's in her work, well, not everyone, the people who put in the work seem to get a lot out of it. But yeah, I don't know, just some general thoughts I've been thinking about. Because I would like to try my hand at teaching a workshop, but I'm kind of, I don't know. I haven't done it before, so you know, the the idea of teaching a workshop is a little um, intimidating. Especially since I think I have a very um, simple approach to painting. So I wonder how that would work. I think at some point I need to just do a test like workshop type of thing. See if see how it is. I don't know. I also worry about teaching people or interacting with certain people. Like a lot of people I'm fine with. I think I'm pretty easy to get along with, but there are some people like how can I put this? A lot of people I know seem to be able to deal with a variety of people better than me. So I don't know. Gotta run. Dinner just got delivered. Enjoy your dinner. You could totally do a workshop. I believe in you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your dinner. Is that simply complex or completely simple? My painting technique? Oh, my painting technique is dead simple. That's that's the thing. Like I don't like there's no, you know, um there's no like trick to it or anything, you know. It's I mean, I have my five colors. I can mix most colors with it. With a little bit of practice, anybody can mix most colors with it, you know? Um, that part's very straightforward. Um, I I mean, I can go like I've gone over some of it on on here on stream before. I just, you know, I draw, I sketch out what I'm about to paint, and then I lay in some flat colors. Try and group the darks where I can, squinting and all that. You do this and whatever combines, combines kind of thing. And um, the roller thing is, you know, is my preference, but it's not really the most important thing in the world. It's also very easy to do. You buy a brayer, right? And after you lay everything in, you go over it all. And then you redraw everything. I use a Photoshop to overlay things on just for, ease. Uh, you can use, there's some apps that do that. You can use a grid method if you want. Um, yeah. And then you just mix the colors and try and match your colors and put the paints where the colors are. Put it, that's it. That's like, I mean, I'm not saying there's no, interpretation going on because as I'm trying to push things, I'm pushing my interpretation of things, but that's, um, what I would consider the only part I would consider advanced. Everything else is just like, do that. I'm not saying it's easy if you've got no experience doing it. I'm not going to say that it's easy, but if you if you practice it, not it's not um, you know complex. It's very straightforward. And I'm not trying to oh, what's it called? Make fun of like say anything negative about anyone if they're struggling. It's like I said, it's not easy. I'm not like there's a lot of people out there who are better at well, basically everything that I do. Um, but there are people who are much better at drawing than I am. There are people who are, um, of course, better at every aspect of it. So I'm not saying that those things are easy, but it is simple. I don't do any like I don't do any special tricks like, oh, you do this stage and then this stage, and then after you do this stage, let it dry because then you're gonna do a glaze and like, there's no like recipes or anything. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but yeah. And as far as like color theory goes, like I know some basics of color theory. There's all that stuff of like, you know, uh, well, there's a lot of color theory about a lot of different things, but I don't think that I prescribe to most of it, so I don't. So I don't know. I want to say I ignore most of it, but it's not like all that high on my list. I mean, there's some things, when you're painting, what's it called? Outdoors, or you're painting, you know, distance, you got to put atmospheric perspective in, stuff like that. But, um, and when you're, yeah, I think that's about it. Hold on. Excuse me for a second. Um, yeah. I mean, there's the like color theory where it's like, oh, you make the character or the figures warm, or the light. No, no, it's not the figures. The light's warm and the shadows cool. That's not really true. That's mostly because of painting outdoors, but and by candlelight. But and it's not a bad thing to follow. It's generally more pleasant to look at, but it's not always accurate. Yeah, I don't know. There's all kinds of things in color theory that I not sure I know or use, or I don't know that it's even correct. I question a lot of it too. So how does that sound? Does that sound pretty like simple? Because I feel like if you can paint from a model or paint from a photo and basically, for the most part, recreate it, like not like ultra realism, I'm just talking like a painting of a thing that doesn't look all wonky, you know. Um, I think that once you get to that level, that's where you start pushing to develop your own personal style and so on, you know. Um, but up until that stage, it's very, it, not saying it's, like I said, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's very straightforward. Joanne, I'm listening. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. I and that's that's all to say that like there's a lot of, a lot of room for instruction and direction within that, right? Because people will struggle with individual aspects of things in different ways, right? Like what's easy for me is going to be hard for someone else, and what's hard for me is easy for other people, you know. So there's definitely like room for instruction and direction, but the general theory, I don't know. That's about it. That's all I got, kind of thing. You experiment with different effects and styles. You don't think that ever stops? I don't think so either. I think that's a lot of fun, and I'm all for it. But I think that a lot of that is, you know, is exactly what you said. It's going to be an experiment. You're going to try out these different things, and, that's awesome. Um, and there's almost no, I'm trying to think, like, I don't think there's any, like, style. Well, I guess there's some style I could like instruct on to a degree. Like, you know, I've made an effort to try and be more painterly or paint looser or whatever over the years. It wasn't something that came naturally to me. Um, and so you know, I can try and help people do that as well. But, what the way I conceptualize it and the way that other people conceptualize it to get to the same place might be a little different. But yeah, that's something that, I know some people struggle with. Um, yeah, like I said, some people it just comes naturally to them, and they never, that's just how they paint. That was not me. But yeah, I do enjoy the experiments. That's and the experimentation. That's why I've done like those that's why I did those very high key paintings and those like almost white paintings, um, and also the different hue paintings. Like all of those were, fun experiments, basically. And they were a lot of fun. I enjoyed them a lot. I got and also I should add, I got a lot out of them. Like I learned so much from doing that. That's why I'm thinking of doing a Zorn palette study. I don't know that I'll get, you know, in my head, I don't know that I'll get that much out of it, but I won't really know until I try it. Like tonal paintings. Oh, so I've done, one second. My brain is struggling here, because I'm bad with names, and when I try and remember names, it's just a little more effort. Um, so I did, so I've done, um, well, I've done a variety. I can kind of show you. Um, So there's a variety. Um, this is, all right, like this. This is just a high key painting. I can't even show it to you like this. Maybe, no. Okay, like this, I guess. This is a high key painting. The value scale on this painting is if uh, if you want to use one as white, it's between 1 and 1.5, maybe 2, maybe. Yeah. So that's a super high key painting I did. I've done a couple other ones like that. Um, this one is actually both a high key painting and a um, this is both a high key painting and a um, single value painting. So um, basically everything's at a 1.5. If you turn it black and white, you won't see any difference. I have another one. I'll go get that. At least that was the goal. I don't always. It's not always perfect, but it's close to it. Um, this is a uh, limited hue painting, and so is this. And what that means is the it's not a single color. It's like a hue range. So some of the blues are cold, some of the blue like some of the blues are cold and some are warm. And the same thing here. Some of the browns are cool and some of them are warm. So they have a slight range. Um, but yeah, hold on a second. Cannot find it. Cannot find a darker color one. I don't know where it is. Huh. Anyways, I have I have like a darker one or two of the um, single value or single tone paintings. I got that I got the idea from Nicholas Uribe, although he got it from somewhere else. Um, the idea in those is that when you turn it black and white, like if you take the filter and you make it black and white, it just becomes a single gray tone, and you just decide, how light or dark that gray is. Um, it's very trippy to look at. Oh wait, I have another one right here, but it's also light. You know, here's another one. There, you can kind of see it. Um, I have to angle it down so the camera can see it. Because otherwise it's just that. It's a light painting. I'd say like a 2. on the like scale. Um, but that's the idea. Everything on there is a 2. Or, you could do it as a 5 or a 10, whatever. Um, Very challenging. Um, it becomes this game of um, like if you've ever done one of those, and anyone who hasn't, the way I can describe it is it's it's kind of like this game where you're trying to obviously control your value. So it's a lot of um, you have to have a lot of control on your value. And then the as far as the colors go, you're not going to be accurate with your colors because nothing looks like that. So it becomes a kind of representational thing. And also, um, you almost have to color code it in a way. So it's like, you know, cools become your darks or your shadows, and warms become your light, or vice versa. But then you can make other cools like your highlights, but you have to be very careful with which ones you do. I don't know if this is making sense, but because you're so limited, you have to kind of color code everything uh, to a degree. And yeah, very, very challenging. It's a lot of fun, though. I enjoyed those so much. And I feel like I learned a ton from doing them. I definitely think my value control is much better since I did all of those studies. Well, studies aren't the real word. Paintings, experiments. Oh, I have another one I can show you. This is different. This is neon paint. This one was a lot of fun too. It's just you have to. There's no trick to this. You just have to buy fluorescent or neon paint. Uh, yeah, they don't mix well. I'll tell you that. They lose they lose their brightness as soon as you mix them. So I wouldn't recommend I wouldn't recommend them for much, but they're fun to mess with, I guess. The problem is you can't find also um, good quality paints. It is oil. You can't find good quality oil paints though that have that color. Um, I found it is what is this? It's an Paul Rubens. Yeah, it's not going to find it. It's not going to be. Yeah, I can't display it. It's too bright. It's Paul Rubens um alkyd resin oil paint. I got it off of Amazon. It was like a set of, I don't know, 12 colors or something. For Yeah, they're alkyd, so they set quick, which I did not enjoy, and they're very translucent. If you have to cover anything up, it's not fun. I did one in shades of blue, trees reflected off the snow. It was fun, but made me stretch. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And stretching is good, so that's great. Um, I did not like alkyds. No. If I could, I would I would have my paint never dry until um well, sometimes you need to cover things, so that's not true. But generally I like doing wet on wet. I don't Only reason I do wet on dry is because I don't have infinite time to paint. I would uh I would not let my paints dry though, generally, if I could. I'd rather just paint wet. The alkyds start gumming up real fast. I didn't enjoy that at all. But if you use if you like what's it called? Oh, what's that? Like Galkid or um what's the one from Winsor Newton? Oh no, can't remember what it's called. Um, anyways, I think you know what I'm talking about. Most um um it's it's uh it's a known it's a famous medium that Winsor Newton makes. It's like Galkid. Basically, if you like using those things, then yeah, I think Alkyd paints are great for you. I can't stand it. It starts getting all gummy and like sticky and hard to work with. I don't like it. Oil still rule. Well, it's technically oil still. It's just it has an additive in it. But yeah, oils rule. I agree. I prefer wet oil paint to anything. I mean, I've painted, I've done digital and everything, and digital has a ton of advantages over anything else in a lot of ways, but it is not fun, nearly as fun to paint digitally as it is with oil paints. But, that's of course a personal thing, whatever like speaks to you kind of thing. But yeah, oils all the way. 100%. If you want a fast drying medium that doesn't have solvents in it, what's it called? Oh my God. Mgram has a walnut oil um, that is fast drying, um, but it doesn't have what's it called? Oh my God. It doesn't have solvents in it because Galkid and Liquin, that's the name, Liquin, both have solvents in them. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of solvents. I don't use any solvents in my painting process. I barely use any in my studio. I use a little, but it's kind of a for convenience and because I have it. Um, but I could live without it if I had to. So yeah, Mgram has a solvent-free, fast-drying medium. I'm sure someone else does too. I just happen to know about theirs. Not a fan of Galkid. I've tried it. I hate it. Oh my God, I don't know why anyone. it's one of those things where when I use it, I'm like, oh my God, why would anybody ever touch this stuff and add it to anything? And I'm not serious. Of course, I understand why someone would actually use it, but I so did not enjoy using it. Although I one time did have a problem, not one time, two or three times I did have a problem where I actually needed a painting to dry before I could work on it again because I could not work wet into wet on those ones. It does happen. There are definitely there are definitely things that are easier to do on a dry painting sometimes. So I do understand it. Um, yeah. Although for me, both of those times were it was my own fault. Um, I made I made mistakes, and those mistakes made it impossible for me to keep working until the painting dried, so I could cover up things that I had done. So what happened was um, one painting I laid in the I drew. This is when I was more grid oriented, so I was relying on grids a lot more. Um, so I did a painting. I started a painting and I laid in the grid with paint, if I remember correctly, and then I painted in. I drew in everything. But I made the mistake. I made two mistakes. One was I laid everything in with phthalo blue, which is on the slower side of drawing, and also a very strong color. So it made painting into it very hard. And the other thing was um, I was painting on UPO paper, which is a plastic, so it is non-absorbent at all. So it made the drawing time a lot slower. Um, so that made my life really hard. That was one time. Okay, now I'm going to read chat and I'll talk about the second time next. Gamsol, liquid. Right now I have mineral spirits and linseed. You've heard good things about walnut oil, and we'll try it eventually. It's not supposed to age with a yellow tint in 100 years. Uh, I like walnut oil. It's thinner and more slippery than linseed oil. Um, it's supposed to yellow less. It's it's kind of one of those things of like supposedly. Although there's a few other oils that are supposed to yellow less as well, like poppy seed oil. Yeah. Hmm. I don't know. You know, not entirely sure. Okay. And now for my second time that I made the mistake, also involved phthalo blue. I laid in a painting. Um, once again with phthalo blue. Actually, no, I don't remember what I laid it in, but a lot of the painting had like a phthalo blue hue to it, so I had used phthalo. And I did my thing where I used the roller. So everything ended up being coated, not coated, but infected with blue, which is fine. It kind of needed that, not a problem. The problem came when I tried to start painting into it when it was wet, and the like I could not paint anything that wasn't blue, the or affected by the blue. Everything that I started painting just kept, you know, getting affected by that color. So I put in white and it was a light, a light blue. I put in yellow and it became a green. And so it just became unmanageable. So I just had to wait for it to dry. Once it dried, problem solved. I can now paint on top of it. It wasn't a big deal. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think today I probably would have less of a hard time with that. I'm not sure. But then I struggled with it. Yeah, it was bad. Um, so yeah, phthalo blue, it's invasive invasive color. I love how I'm talking about it like it's some like infectious disease thing. But I mean it kind of is. Although I feel like I've got better control of it now than I did in the past. But yeah, I still would be careful of like coating a whole canvas with it and then trying to paint into that wet canvas right after. I feel like that is a recipe for uh, a bad time. Although, I mean, there are ways around it if you paint really thick. But once again, you don't always want to do that in the second layer. Also, even if you paint it very thick, as it's drying, it could theoretically could leach up through the wet paint. Um, that can, like, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but it theoretically could. Like, if you've ever covered I don't know, pencil lines or a marker or something like that, and you think whatever you just covered with the marker or with the pencil is gone, and then when you come back after it dries, you realize you can still kind of see it. Yeah, I can see that happening with that. So I think I'd be cautious of doing that today. I had a friend in art school who he tried to do mixed medium for the first time, and the my teacher, and he was a good artist. Like, this isn't a it was just he didn't know the medium. He was mixing pencils and markers and acrylics, and he's airbrush. He was doing all this stuff, right? And the teacher, uh, you know, looked at it afterwards and was like, well, the good news is you've gotten basically all the mistakes out of the way now because you did literally everything wrong as far as technique goes. Like, he made every mistake you can make, just everything. Like, he put down marker and then painted over it, and the marker kept leaching through, so he couldn't cover it up. He um he then tried to cover up, tried to, I think, draw over paint, and he couldn't do that because the paint was too thick, and just on and on and on. Just literally like every mistake you could make, he made. You know, I'm sure it was a great learning experience that he wished he never had. Although he seemed to take it, you know, in good good humor, which is good. Yeah, I mean, if I tried to do those things now, I would also make all those mistakes. Probably. Um, yeah, but yeah, I always remember that. It's one of those stories that like is stuck in my head. And it's not, and by stories, I mean I was there, I saw it. I did. It wasn't like he secondhand, knowledge. I was there for it. It was pretty funny. So it's really subtle because all of this is in shadow. It's very subtle, so I'm gonna have to work on it a bit. But there's like light spots and darker spots, based off of contour. I don't want it to look like there's, you know, um, what's it called? Like spotlights on certain areas. So I'm definitely going to have to make it very, very subtle. And I think right now it's not subtle enough. But that's all right. It will be eventually. All right. It is late. I am going to be ending stream in a few minutes. It's getting late. I am fading a bit. So I'm going to start saying goodbye now. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Joanne, you are a trooper. Thank you so much for hanging out all stream. I appreciate it. Appreciate the company. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to call it a night. Also, my back needs a break too. uh, I used pastels with Live Model. She was an attractive woman, but every time she took a break, she'd talk and her personality would come out, which meant I couldn't paint what I saw but felt. Fail. Oh, that's unfortunate. Um, yeah, that can be tough. I don't know how I would deal with painting someone who I like really didn't like. Um, I've thought about doing, I think I've talked about it. I've thought about doing like some political, paintings or whatever, but like I don't want to stare at people I hate, um, and paint them. And yeah, so I can see that being challenging for sure. Um, and I will say this, I don't know if this is helpful right before I go, I'll just mention it. What I've done in the past to what's it called? To have a like when I'm painting something and I want to have a certain feeling to it, um obviously you know, I try and make it look like the feeling I want, by, you know, color choices and composition choices and all those things. But one of the other things I do sometimes is I'll listen to music that gives me that feeling in particular. Sometimes even just a single song on repeat. Um, and I feel like that helps, subconsciously make choices that give that feeling. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my thought on it. Anyways, have a good night. Um, Always fun talking, painting. I'll be back on Wednesday. Um, yeah, have a good one, everyone.